Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a review for the new Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Wave 2 figure, Teela. Now, this review is coming a lot later than I planned. One, just because I'm behind on my reviews and I'm always playing catch-up. But also, I'm trying to decide how best to tackle this review without spending too much time focusing on how I feel about the character of Teela in the show. Because personally, I think Teela was one of the worst things about Revelation. And it's not so much for, the reasons that probably a lot of people have expressed as far as like the show being all about her, because I don't think it really was. It is true she had a very large part to play in the show, but despite what the creators of the show themselves even believe, she actually had quite a few big standout episodes in the original series. So yeah, it's more so I just think they really butchered her characterization from the original for something that's supposed to be a sequel to the 80s cartoon. I feel that she was just completely out of character in almost every regard and was just like super edgy girl, angry lady for 90% of the show. I mean, when you reach a point when somebody tells you the universe is literally dying, as in everything inside of it will die, and your response is not my problem, not only do you have to suspend a lot of disbelief that the character of Teela would ever say something like that, despite what she's been through, but it just doesn't make any sense. It's bad writing. Like, hey, the universe and everything in it, including you, is going to die. Well, that's not my problem. Like, well, it clearly is. All right, and I think I'm just going to cut it off there as far as my criticism of the character. That way, get it out of my system so I can give you guys a nice, objective review. That being said, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at Teela's packaging. Then we'll put it up. We'll see Teela herself, check out her posability, check out her accessories. Naturally, I'll be doing some group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll give my final thoughts. So Teela comes in your standard Masterverse style packaging with the Master of the Universe Revelation call out right here to show what series she's from. You get her name, and then you get a big window right here that shows off the character. You got her staff in front of her. You got two alternate hands. You have what looks like the contracted staff, and then I think that's the staff with the blade coming out right there, because it's supposed to be like some sort of all-in-one crazy weapon. Now, the weapon itself can't actually do that. It has to be kind of one thing or the other, but it's nice that you have different display options for it. And Teela herself, even though I'm not really crazy about the design that they went with, it just, I don't know, seems out of place in the general high fantasy / science fiction setting of Master of the Universe. It is really well rendered here. Lots of sculpted details. Just got their satchel thing hanging off. It looks pretty good. On this side, you get her name, along with her classic title, Heroic Warrior Goddess. Then we get this side panel art, which looks really nice, kind of jumping forward with her staff at the ready. Real good coloring here. You got a sunrise in the background. Or that's supposed to be symbolic or something. And on the back, you get a different pose of her, also in combat with her staff. Your name, Teela, Heroic Warrior Goddess, and her flavor text reads, Captain of the Royal Guard, Warrior, Hero. Teela has been many things in her life, but there's now only one word that can describes her best. Describes her best, really. Good proofreading there, guys. Survivor. Outraged by the secrets and lies from those closest to her, Teela has thrown down her sword and title and used her battle-hardened skills to scavenge for magical artifacts for the highest bidder. But one can only evade their destiny for so long. I'd say that's a pretty good description, typo aside. It's kind of funny they say that she throws down her sword, but then she just picks up a different sword in the form of her little handy stick there. Now we see that, and then we also see these cross cells down here. Now, interestingly enough, He-Man's included there, despite the fact that he's a Wave 1 figure, and I'm pretty sure he's not repacked into Wave 2. I've never seen him with Wave 2. We get Man-at-Arms, Teela herself. Well, there's Skeletor, who's also a Wave 1 figure. Now, normally that would make sense if they were doing these guys like they do Origins, where they have like their own solid cases, but I don't think that's the case here. Maybe I'm wrong. We get Beastman in his like post-time skip form. Then we even get Spikor, who's an interesting inclusion because he was a pretty blink and you miss it type character within the entire series. So it's weird that he's getting a figure before a lot of other characters. But Spikor's cool. We don't have one in Origins yet, so this is kind of our next best thing. And as always, the packaging is fantastic. The artwork, the very long flavor text, which is something that has died completely in Transformers. I don't know if you guys have seen the new way they're doing tech specs in Transformers, but now you have to scan a QR code to get an online tech spec that's like just literally one sentence. That's it. I mean, we've really fallen from like those glory days of G1 and Beast Wars where they get a whole card and a big old description. I hate it. But that's the route they're going now, so that they can have, multilingual packaging for every market. That's Hasbro's way of saving money. Okay, we've gotten a good look at the box, so let's go ahead and open it up. Now we get to see Teela out of the packaging with her accessories at the ready. So you get her little compact staff that can become the sword, or the long spear-like staff there. You also get her two alternate hands. One is just a plain open hand for the left arm, and then another weapon-wielding hand for the right. And then she comes packaged with a weapon-wielding hand on the left, closed fist on the right. Now the figure itself is quite posable, and I have to say, I actually really dig the face sculpt. Very much gives me the same vibes as the Origins Teela toy. So, you kind of go like that. It looks like the same character, which is good, right? That's what you're looking for. So, she's got the double ball joint for the neck. She has the ball joint in her upper torso area to let her, do the Mortal Kombat fatality dance. She has universal shoulders, bicep swivel. She has the double bend elbows, which are, these things are always tight when you first get them, and you have to kind of exercise them out a little bit. And her arms have shown some signs of stress marks here on the plastic just from me doing that. So just be kind of careful with yours. She's also got her universal wrists that can, swivel, hinge, all that. She has a full waist rotation. She has universal hips, which can actually get a pretty good amount of range despite the little skirt area. They go back and forth quite well. She's got a full thigh swivel, double bend knees, which can be a little tight too. They will go. She's got the boot swivel, ankle rock, and ankle rotation. So the whole kit and caboodle right here. She's not lacking in any way when it comes to articulation. And, like I said in the package shot, despite my feelings on the character of Teela in the show, I think the toy came out very well. Like, you don't have to like the design to agree that the toy captures it just almost perfectly. Now, when we look at her accessories, you turn her around. Well, she's got the satchel thing right here, which is cool. You turn around, she's got this little belt loop on the back, which is where she stores her retractable weapon when it's not in use. And you just slide it through. Now, it is a little tight. You kind of wriggle it in there, but you can have her, keeping it on her back if you want it, kind of sheathed. Or you can have her wield it in either the sword or spear configurations. And you just kind of push it into her hand. You have to push out the thumb a little bit. Just be careful not to bend it too hard. So you can give her her sword, which is pretty nice looking. Or you can give her the spear. And you just plug it in there, slide it down through the fingers, straighten it out, all that. And all the weapons look pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not sure where the idea came from to give her this retractable weapon. I guess there's just some original idea they had, and I think it's one of the coolest features about her in the show. I mean, it's a neat little weapon. It vibes very well with the MOTU aesthetic and those kind of sci-fi roots of these fantastical mechanical weapons. So actually, I don't mind the weapon at all. I think it's pretty cool. And the fact that it can turn into a sword too helps connect Teela to her original setup. So I think that's very neat. Now, one thing that's very odd is that most, if not all, of the black paint on these weapons, so specifically on this blade right here, and then the shaft and blades of the spear, it's very tacky. Like it started melting or something, and I don't know if that's just my copy, if this was kept somewhere, a little too warm. It's not stored in any kind of hostile environment in my house. It's kept in a, nice air-conditioned or heated room, so it's climate-controlled. So I'm not really sure why it's all tacky like that, and I wonder if it's, a defect of mine, or if they all have that issue. So if you do have this toy, let me know if you've had that issue too, where it feels kind of gummy, sticks to your fingers a little bit. It doesn't seem to come off, which is nice. I haven't seen it rub off on the hands or anything, despite the amount of friction you gotta use to put them through. But it is a little concerning for, the longevity of the toy, because I can see this paint starting to come off eventually. And now, one last thing to look at with the toy itself is the alternate hands. So let's go ahead, pull the spear back through, pop the hands off. That one was tight, jeez. Super in there. So I'll put the open hand in, which is kind of cool. And this configuration I'm about to put her in seems to mimic her classic configuration. Well, no, I guess not. I guess she has 2 weapon holding hands on the classic toy, doesn't she? So technically, I guess you'd want 2 of these, but we're gonna go with this. So you can just have her, alternate, wield her weapon in her right hand instead. You can get it past the thumb there. A little tight. All right, there we go. So you do get some options there, and then she gets this nice open hand to, give some dynamic poses or something as she's doing battle against the cult of Motherboard or Skeletor's forces or whoever, Scareglow. Now here's a fun group shot of Teela with her Origins counterpart, which represents, her classic vintage look. You can see I have the snake hood removed just so you can see, this toy a little more clearly without all the added stuff on there. And, I mean, they do look like they could be the same character. I don't think it's something that would be insanely obvious to someone who hasn't seen this figure or seen the show. Like, if you just showed them this action figure, they'd be like, I don't know, who is that, Scarlet from G.I. Joe? Like, I have no idea. But then when you get them, side by side, you can see they're like, well, I guess that could be the same person. I mean, they have the same general face, the red hair, all that. But honestly, aside from the hair and maybe eye color, I mean, there's not too much to go off of. This Teela is significantly tanner, which may just be an artistic choice or may just be reflective of, her life out on the road as a mercenary. I'd imagine, despite her warrior prowess being, mostly holed up inside the kingdom, she may not get the best tan. So it kind of makes sense for her to be a little darker here. But again, that might just be a difference for the show. I'm not really sure. I'd have to go back and see if she's, just as tan in the prologue episode as she is afterward. So these two do look pretty cool together. I don't think the Origins is a great stand-in for her, episode 1 look, just because, it's much smaller, simpler. But luckily, we are getting that Wave 4 classic outfit Teela. So we will get something that, is the Revelation interpretation of this getup right here, complete with the sword and everything. Alternate head where she, lets her hair down. So that'll be much better for before and after group shot, but this still serves. It gives you an idea of, where she started versus where she is now. Now, of course, where we are in the show, at the end, if it is indeed the end, she's now the new sorceress. So I don't know if we're ever getting a figure of Sorceress Teela. We're apparently getting one of Sorceress Evelyn, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get one of Sorceress Teela at some point down the road. And that would also be a figure I'm interested in. It's similar to her mother, the classic sorceress, but different enough to where she kind of makes her own. But as of right now, the one I'm most excited to get for, any sort of Masterverse Teela is the classic outfit one, because I'm just really trying to get a collection of your classic MOTU characters and their classic appearance, but at the Masterverse scale and articulation. And this completes our look at the new Masterverse Wave 2 Teela. As I've said a few times in the review, I'm not a huge fan of this design. I think it's just too drastic of a departure from a classic design to where the character is just unrecognizable. And I also don't think she really fits the aesthetic of Masters of the Universe very well. She looks a lot more like a G.I. Joe figure than she does a MOTU toy. So, not crazy about the choices that were made for the cartoon, which is, which this is based off of. And I'm not crazy about the characterization. That's, a separate conversation. But I will say the toy does an excellent, excellent job of capturing that design. The details are just really superb. The wear on the leather of the boots there, the satchel, the belts, the straps, all that little hoop where she could store her weapon. The fact that she comes with 3 different forms of her weapon. I mean, she looks good. And the face sculpt is actually quite nice. It very much reminds me of the Origins toy. And, I gotta say I'm pretty satisfied with it. So if you can separate the figure from, whatever negative feelings you may harbor toward the show or the character, I think you'll find this is actually a very, very good toy. It may not be for everybody. I know a lot of people are looking for something, much closer to the classic look, so they're probably holding out for the Wave 4 figure. But if you, like the Revelation cartoon or you don't mind it or you're a completionist, I think you'll be very satisfied with this. It is a fun toy to play with and, is one of the better Masterverse toys I've handled so far. Of course, that is just my take on Teela, so now I want to know what you all think of her. Do you enjoy this figure for what it is? How do you feel about the character in the show, and does that affect your desire to buy this toy? Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comment section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. And thank you for joining me for this look at the new Masters of the Universe Masterverse Revelation Wave 2 Teela. And with all that said, I will see you next time.